Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Truth Tellers Mike. We're going to be discussing the death clause. The death clause that's some often discussed in Hollywood, specifically the music industry. And of course, the death clause is actually it's part of a legal contract. So it's a contractual concept because it's called death clause. That's not actually worded that way. It's actually a hidden provision in deals and record contracts or insurance policies that only activates upon death. So in the entertainment industry, there are often posthumous rights clauses. Who owns your music, image, or royalties after you're gone? In life insurance, a death clause determines payout conditions or exclusions. And in business partnerships, it can trigger forced sales or transfers of ownership. And what I want to discuss is to give you an angle on how the system profits after a person's life ends, how a contract can outlive the signer. The death clause is more than just a metaphor for hidden costs. It's also the hidden price of fame, loyalty, or silence. The cost of protecting an image or a brand, the unspoken deal behind power. You can rise, but only under certain terms. A modern cautionary tale. Everything glittering may have a clause that demands your essence, right? I want to go a little further. When your voice becomes a legacy, they make sure it keeps paying the wrong people. The industry doesn't explain something very deep inside the fine print, which is the death clause. And it's the part of the contract that starts working when you stop breathing. The music industry doesn't just sign artists, it signs their future. Every contract has a hidden structure that plans for two things: profit while you're alive and control when you're gone. Because when an artist dies, two things begin to rise: their value and their streams. So death becomes a marketing campaign, mourning becomes monetization. Think about it. Who owns the music, the image, the catalog after death? If the artist doesn't, then the label just got richer off a tragedy. The pattern that no one or nobody questions. It happens too often to be coincidence. A young artist dies unexpectedly. Streams skyrocket. Unreleased music drops. Merch reappears. Documentaries roll out. The same system that barely promoted them when they were alive suddenly becomes their biggest fan. That's the death clause in action. It's the invisible contract that ensures ownership never returns to the artist, even in death. Now, how is this structured? The clause is buried under legal language like perpetual rights, transfer upon death, or assigns in perpetuity. They own, in translation, they own your legacy. Even if your family wants to release your art for free, they can't. Even if your fans want to honor your story, they need permission from the same people who silenced you. In the industry's most silent form of immortality, not for the artist, but for the ownership. Now let's go a little deeper because it's not just about contracts, it's about energy. When the world grieves, attention spikes, streams rise, energy flows. In this digital age, energy is currency. The system doesn't just own your catalog, it owns your grief cycle. That's how they turn death into data and data into dollars. Let's look at the historical pattern of all of this. When we look back from Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, Juice WRLD, XXX Tentacion, Pop Smoke, Amy Winehouse, every one of their estates became a battleground. What's being fought over? Ownership, royalties, image rights, posthumous projects. It's not coincidence, it's structure. The death clause is not about if you die, it's about when you die and how prepared they are to cash in. So, what can an artist do? You can learn the language of ownership. Don't just chase followers, chase freedom. Know where your masters are, where your catalog lives, and who gets paid when you're gone. Because legacy without ownership is just a ghost with good publicity. And you were never meant to die for the system, you were meant to outlive it. The death clause isn't just contracts, it's in culture. It's the normalization of loss for profit. But the more we expose it, the weaker it will get. Because when truth trends, deception declines. So if you're an artist, a fan, or just someone who still believes that creation should be sacred, start reading the fine print. And remember, your art doesn't die when you do, unless you sign it away. See, ownership isn't just about money, it's about control over your legacy. Every artist bleeds into their art. That's your story, your soul, your time. But if you don't know where your masters are, someone else can remix your life after you're gone. If you don't know where your catalog lives, then your songs can become someone else's asset, traded and resold like stock. And who gets paid, if you don't know who gets paid when you're gone, then your children might grow up watching strangers live off the echoes of your voice. That's why the real revolution in music isn't just talent, it's literacy. Read your contracts. Ask who owns the masters. Find out what in perpetuity really means, because one clause can outlive you. The death clause doesn't need your permission, it needs your signature. So before you drop that hit, drop the habit of stop drop that habit of not reading the fine print. Read your contract, because one day your name might be trending and somebody else could be counting the checks your pain produced. That's the real heart of it. Just knowing where everything is doesn't automatically protect your family. You can know every password, every label rep, every account manager, but if the paperwork isn't structured in your favor, your people still get crumbs. For instance, knowing where your masters and your catalog are, is like knowing where the safe is. But if your name isn't on the deed to the safe, your family can't open it. Labels and publishers will still control distribution, licensing, and payouts under contract you sign. Contracts decide the flow of money. Almost every record deal has one of these phrases: in perpetuity, irrevocable, assignable. These words mean the label keeps control after death unless the contract says otherwise. So even if your heirs know exactly where everything is, the money flows according to the contract, not your will. So what can you do to protect your family? To make sure your family benefits? An artist has to do three things while alive: retain or buy back masters. If you don't own it, your heirs can't inherit it. Write clear estate instructions. Wills and trusts must name who get royalties, publishing, merchandise income, likeness to your rights, etc. Designate beneficiaries on every royalty stream. And SoundExchange and mechanical royalty agencies all have separate forms for heirs. If that's done, your family can legally collect without fighting the label in court. Real examples: Prince died without a will. His estate spent years in court while his catalog and unreleased music sat frozen. Tupac's estate took years to resolve because of ownership disputes and paperwork gaps. Nipsey Hussle had more of his business organized, so his family had more control over his brand after his passing. The difference isn't fame, it's preparation. So knowing is step one. Ownership and legal preparation are step two. Only the combination ensures your children, spouse, or parents benefit from what you build. And as I move further on into this, I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to leave this here, and then I am going to move further. Well, maybe I should give you more information for those that need it. So let me not leave that information. How to protect your legacy, breaking free, right? So now that you know how the death clause works, let's talk about how to break it. Because knowing where your masters are is powerful, but power without preparation still equals loss. The system isn't counting on your ignorance anymore. It's counting on your silence. It's counting on the chaos that happens when you're gone and your people don't know what to do next. Ownership is the heartbeat of generational wealth in music. If the label owns your masters, they own your afterlife. So start by renegotiating. If your contract allows a revision or reversion clause after a set number of years, usually 35, file for it. If not, start buying back your masters one project at a time. Build independent distribution routes. Use TuneCore, United Masters, DistroKid, or whatever gives you administration control. Because once you own your masters, your estate inherits the engine, not the scraps. Every track has a home. Some live with pros like BMI or ASCAP, others in publishing admin systems or mechanical royalty databases. Make a list, one document. Include who collects your publishing, who collects the mechanical royalties, who collects the digital performance, who controls distribution royalties. Then share that list with your legal team and family, because what they can't find, they can't fight for. Create a music trust or estate plan. A will divides assets, a trust protects them. A music trust lets your heirs automatically collect royalties and control your catalog the moment you pass. No court delays. It names a trustee who manages business, not emotion. Think of it as a firewall between your art and chaos. The death clause depends on confusion. A trust creates clarity. Every royalty platform lets you name beneficiaries, right? They have forms online. Fill them out. That's one step. That one step ensures that if anything happens, your children, your spouse, or parents get paid directly. No label middleman, no court fees, no vultures. You have to control your likeness. Let's labels love after death albums, because that's when they can say anything, release anything, and package your image however they want. You can stop that. In your estate plan, include a clause that restricts use of your name, your image, or unfinished work without family approval. That's how you protect your story, not just your songs. Educate the next generation. Legacy is only real if knowledge gets passed down. Teach your kids how royalty works. Let them sit in on business meetings. Show them how to file copyrights. Because inheritance without understanding leads right back to exploitation. And that's how the system resets itself. So you don't have to be rich to be ready. You just have to be intentional. The death clause feeds on silence. But every artist who learns this, every family who gets formed weakens its grip. So write it down, talk about it. Build the structure while you're breathing, because the most powerful thing you can leave behind isn't fame, it's freedom. And I'm going to let you go on this one. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.